about a $11 billion gap, a $16 billion gap, but it wasn't made very clear that that gap was through 2008-09 fiscal year. All of a sudden, in November, we're talking a $40 billion gap, but it's actually through 2010. So I wanted to make that clear. A lot of the public may not know that. They were thinking it jumped from 11 to 40 all of a sudden, but it was really through 2010. He has now presented well, let me back up. December 19th, negotiations were ongoing to reach a budget compromise to close this gap. Governor threatens to veto the legislative proposal by the Democrats. December 9th, the Board of Supervisors was presented with an update and follow-up budget report with options for the projected revenue shortfall of $1 million or more, including a brief budget update on the state budget. December 31st, the governor's January 2009-10 budget proposal to prevent deficit from growing to $41.6 billion through 2010, an 80-page document. And today, the board is now being presented with another update of the January state budget. So the purpose of my correlation there is to show the board, to remind the board, I guess, basically, that Mendocino County, as well as other local jurisdictions, react to the state budget and their actions. We try to continually monitor, update the state budget. We build our budget around the state budget and those actions taken by the state budget. Three key areas of the 2009 proposal, and I'm only going to take one more minute of your time, are number one, he's going to have a reduction in spending. Number two, he's proposing raising taxes. And number three, he's going to borrow. Education, number one, will be cut by billions of dollars, with health care for the elderly and disabled also being affected by these cuts, and state workers and pay of state workers will also be cut. He proposes a 1.5-cent sales tax hike, new taxes on alcoholic beverages and the oil industry, and a deduction on dependent credit state residents could claim on 2009 taxes. And then finally, the borrowing, he proposes a $4.7 billion bridge loan with, of course, continual high interest rates to be repaid back on the loan. Also, in the January proposal, it assumes that if all special session solutions or pieces of legislation proposed are enacted, that means all those special sessions and the bills and legislation that's being proposed by the legislator are enacted, that the state will be unable to pay all of its bills beginning in March. A deferral of some payments will be required. It may also be necessary for the state to make some payments with registered warrants or IOUs. This budget proposes selling RAWs, or reimbursement warrants, in July of 2009 and repaying those RAWs, R-A-W-S, no later than June 30th, 2011. However, with the current credit environment, restrictions and certain criteria would need to be addressed, and if not, taxes or cuts in programs in the future may also need to be addressed. It is believed that, as Mr. Mitchell has talked about, the federal economic stimulus package reserves funds to be passed on to the states in the form of a bailout. It should be noted that relying on this form of bailout would not be prudent to balance the state's budgets, and if any federal funds are received, it may only be in the form of a restrictive funds for infrastructure construction as a fiscal stimulus. The administration supports paying back the RAWs by using these funds, but this is only an estimated projection, and it is unknown at this time whether these funds will be passed down to the states. The legislature convened on Monday, yesterday, January 5th, and is still reviewing special session proposals for this fiscal year as well as next fiscal year. State mid-year budget cuts are historically unprecedented, and therefore local jurisdictions having to react, as I stated earlier. This means that the 2008-09 Mendocino County budget, balanced and adopted by the board this year in September, which was based on what we knew at the time and reported to the board as the most current proposal of the state budget, will also be continually reviewed and updated with new projections as we face this continual economic downturn. And finally, a report to the Board of Supervisors on February 23rd will be presented with a more detailed state budget status and impacts to Mendocino County, along with the mid-year budget report. And if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't see any. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Tom, do you have any other reports? Okay. We're going to move on to agenda item number 6D, discussion of possible action, including adoption of proclamation recognizing Heidi Dunham for her exceptional service in in Messina County upon occasion of a receipt of the Probation Business Managers Association Affiliation Award 2008, a very prestigious award. Heidi, are you here? There she is. Would you come forward, please? Would you want to make a few comments? You don't have to, but we have a proclamation here. I'm going to get Supervisor McGowan to read for you, but would you like to make a few comments first?
Well, I'd like to say it was an honor to receive the recognition from my peers in the state. It was a surprise. I'm proud to represent Mendocino County in this organization, and I work really hard for them preparing a revenue survey every year. I do it single-handedly, and I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I think that that's what really got me the recognition with the group. I would also like to say that being a manager in the probation department, the job that I do is a reflection of the job that my staff does for me, and I want to thank them, and thank you.
Thank you. John, would you read?
Proclamation of the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors recognizing Heidi Dunham upon receipt of the Probation Business Managers Associate Affiliate Award 2008. Whereas Heidi Dunham has been a valued member of Mendocino County Probation Department staff since July of 1999 and is highly respected by her colleagues, and whereas Heidi Dunham has been a very active member in the Probation Business Managers Association, has shown an extraordinary level of commitment to the organization, and has been more than willing to accept major projects, and whereas in 2002 Heidi volunteered to assume the responsibility of compiling, printing, and distributing the Probation Business Managers Association Revenue Survey, she continues to prepare the Revenue Survey, and because of her dedication to the project, Heidi has been responsible for increasing the statewide participation from 43 counties in 2002 to 53 counties in 2008. And whereas Heidi continues to offer ways of improving the format and identifying potential modifications of data collection to enhance the final product, the Probation Business Managers Association appreciates her willingness and dedication in carrying out this project to successful completion. And whereas for 2009, Heidi was nominated and chosen to be the Northern Regional Chair, the Probation Business Managers Association is grateful for her dedication and looks forward to having Heidi take on a leadership role with this organization. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Mendocino hereby proclaims their appreciation for Heidi Dunham's dedication and service to Mendocino County and congratulates her on her receipt of the Probation Business Managers Association Affiliate Award 2008. January 6, 2009, John Pinch's chair.
Thank you, Heidi. I guess we have to, John, would that be a motion for this?
Yes, I would
Okay.
move that we approve the proclamation.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any board members before we take a vote? Wes, you want to come up and say a few words?
Wes Foreman, Chief Probation Officer. I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to let her have the spotlight. It's truly hers. She does a wonderful job for the probation department. I know as a new Chief Probation Officer, I would have been lost without a fiscal person, and am still lost without a fiscal person. So she's a great asset to our department. She's a great asset to the county as well. Thank you.
Anybody